the disclosure of which could interfere with everything Fani's doing. So do not release those photos. They don't care about at all. Fani Willis is threatening Nathan Wade with Georgia professional ethics rules. That's rich. Incredible. Mr. Wade has sensitive knowledge about my indictment, including evidence that's all protected. Georgia protects it. So does Chief Justice Roberts. Nathan Wade was deposed by Congress, and Fani did not want it to happen. And we're going to wait for the details to see what the full depo looked like, hopefully when the House releases the transcripts. But Fani was freaking out as Nathan Wade was getting ready for his testimony. She sent 2 letters in that we're going to read through. One to Nathan Wade himself. Fani Willis sent a love letter from Fani T. Willis, the district, to Mr. Nathan Wade, a message of love. Oh, isn't this just beautiful? So romantic. And she said, you better shut your mouth. Do not even think about speaking to any of our highly sensitive and confidential materials. Otherwise, you're sleeping on the couch when you get home. And so Fani Willis signed this one. She also sent another one over to Jim Jordan. This one has less of a romantic vibe to it. You don't really see any hearts here. But Jim Jordan also got one, and we'll see what Fani said over to him. Here's the background. Apparently Nathan Wade showed up today. There was a question about whether that was going to happen or not. He got a subpoena and he was there. Wade is the subject of one of many investigative threads that was launched, and ahead of his testimony, Fani sent a bunch of letters out. Now, apparently this took place today, and not much in this story about what actually happened there, but he did step down and he did appear for a deposition. That's the extent of it, right? He appeared for a deposition. So what was said there, who knows? Story didn't report anything on that, but Fani didn't want him to say anything and sent 2 letters in. So from Fani Willis to her lover, Mr. Nathan Wade. Fani writes, Dear Mr. Wade, baby, I write to you in my official capacity as DA. He's like, wait a minute. We're keeping it professional here? You know, I love it when you get all serious with me. On behalf of my office regarding a recent subpoena you got from Jim Jordan. Now, as you know, Nathan, I hired you and paid you $700,000 to interfere with the 2024 election in America. That investigation led to the indictment of Trump and many others that we have rigged to take him out. I might have changed that paragraph up a little bit. I write to remind you of your continuing obligation not to disclose, Nathan, don't you dare say any confidential information about what we did during our lunch meetings together. You better not say what our work product was. You're in big trouble because these are ongoing criminal matters on which you worked while you were working for me, including information that's protected from disclosure, and don't share the photos I sent you either. Now, to that end, this letter should serve as formal notice that my office is asserting all legal protections and privileges over information you obtained when Nathan Wade was working for Fani. Now, as the special counsel, Nathan, of our investigation into Trump, you have knowledge of highly sensitive and confidential information, and you better believe that's true. That is one of the truest things I've ever heard from Fani. Yeah. The disclosure of which could interfere with everything Fani's doing. So do not release those photos. This includes knowledge of key evidence, confidential attorney communications, legal theories, analyses, prosecutorial recommendations, and other things. So given this, Fani says, Fani is concerned that questions posed to you, Nathan, honey, by the committee could implicate several significant established privileges and confidentiality agreements. This includes preserving the secrecy of grand juries. Very important here. Fundamental principle. And so they would also ask you about our attorney-client privilege and our very long lunch meetings and work product privilege when he came over to review her files. Now, it's the responsibility of Fulton and its employees to protect this sensitive information. And as a former contracted prosecutor with this office, this remains your responsibility as well, buddy. And as you are undoubtedly aware, the sharing of this information violates Georgia's professional ethics rules, which they don't care about at all. Fani Willis is threatening Nathan Wade with Georgia professional ethics rules. That's rich. Incredible. Including special rules applicable to prosecutors. After withdrawal from such representation, attorneys are still required to protect confidentialities. And since the committee's demand for your testimony would require you to discuss these things, we previously asked the committee to withdraw its demand to interview you. And if they're unwilling to do so, then come up with an integrity agreement. They've refused our request. Now, the Fulton County office will continue to seek an agreement with them, but however, in the absence of such agreement, all right, Nathan Wade is going to get told by his girlfriend right now. Oh man, guys hate this, but here it comes. Fani Willis said to Nathan, I am directing you as the former special counsel to my office, Nathan, to refrain from answering any of the committee's questions questions related to your role into our criminal investigation of Trump. Man, Nathan just got told he is on thin ice over there. It is incumbent upon you and your counsel to guard against the unauthorized disclosure of any evidence that you got from our work together that I've outlined in this letter. Now, I also understand that the committee has expressed interest in questioning you about the office's receipt and use of federal grant funds. Now, I do not believe, honey, that you possess any personal knowledge on this subject, as you were not funded by that money. You got other money from Georgia. They ripped off from their taxpayers, not federal money. And so this office has no objection to you providing relevant information that you don't know any of this stuff. By allowing you to share relevant personal knowledge about these funds, the office does not waive any privileges because you have no knowledge. And finally, I wish to remind you, Nathan, honey baby, about our ongoing prosecution. The criminal efforts to undermine Georgia's election not only shook the foundations of our state's democracy, but also endangered public servants and election workers who were brave enough to stand up for the rule of law. As long as I'm District Attorney Fani, I will continue to do everything in my power to protect the integrity of this criminal investigation. My legal duty to protect the secrecy has been bestowed upon both of you and I by federal, local, and state law. And I have no interest in waiving this legal responsibility on behalf of my office. And I'm confident, Nathan, that you will do the same. Yours in service, Fani T. Willis. Also, grab some milk on the way home and some Grey Goose. Fani sent a letter to Jim Jordan, too. She says, all right, Jim, guess what? I'm Fani and I can do whatever I want, so why don't you just shove it? I'm concerned that your demand, Jim, for Nathan's testimony, my lover, would force him to improperly divulge confidential information. And he's an honorable lawyer. And so he's been informed, Jim, that Nathan is not going to answer any questions about any information about his role in our prosecution. Now, as former special counsel, Mr. Wade has sensitive knowledge about my indictment, including evidence that's all protected. Georgia protects it, so does Chief Justice Robert. Now, there are extremely compelling reasons, Jimbo, why Congress should avoid, and many have, interference with ongoing criminal matters. Asking witnesses to share legally protected non-public information is going to cause them to violate the rules. And in my previous letters, I've explained why we're not complying with you, and the request is reasonable. Others have blocked depositions, and to date, you've refused our reasonable requests. And so now we are not waiving any of our rights or privileges, and Mr. Wade is not going to answer your questions. And so to that end, I have ordered my boyfriend not to answer any questions from you, Jim, about his role. As long as I'm DA, I'm going to protect my office, my legal duty. I have no interest in waiving this for your politically motivated tactics. Yours in service, Fani Willis to Jim Jordan. And I wonder what Jim Jordan's going to do about it. I'd be pretty unhappy if I was a powerful congressman and I kept having people who are using federal funds to prosecute political opponents in America spitting back in your face when you have the power of the purse in Congress and you do nothing about it. But we'll see what this Congress does. So Nathan Wade did testify, did do a deposition, and we're excited to see what Congress was able to get out of him. Hopefully Jim Jordan and the Judiciary Committee release the transcripts ASAP so we can get to the bottom of what's happening between these two who launched a criminal prosecution of a president without any historical precedent for doing so, utilizing RICO and criminalizing a whole swath of conduct that's not criminal at all. And they did it for their own self-interest in violation of the law. And so we should get to the bottom of it, and we should have answers before the election. We'll see if Congress gets it.